This video on First Updates Now is made possible by viewers like you and also the following sponsors. At Kettering University, over 30% of the student population was in high school robotics. These same students have received a portion of over $7 million in scholarships. Scholarship applications for FIRST students are now available. Get more information at kettering.edu/first. FRC Premiere Night is back on Saturday, February 25th. Submit a unique video showcasing your team's charged up robot progress by Thursday, February 23rd at First Updates Now/Premiere23. Premiere Night is a great way to engage with the community. Get more information and submit your video at firstupdatesnow.com/Premiere23. And welcome on to the Open Alliance Show, team number 7312, T3, coming out of Texas as well, out of Tumble, Texas, competing week 4 and week 5 as well, too. So excited to have you both on. We got lots to talk about with your team as well, too. Drivetrains, clamps, arms, elevators, programming, lots of stuff. So why don't the two of you introduce yourselves? Let us know what you do on the team, and we'll hop right into it.
Hi, my name is Akshita, and
I'm Olivia.
I'm the head of programming on T3.
Yeah, and I'm the team captain on T3.
So yeah, women in STEM.
Nice. Welcome on. And I know we were talking, I'm going to key you in for this, and we were talking about it. You got some really great sponsors you want to thank for making all this happen.
Yeah, there's all of them, the logos.
Yeah. We want to start off by thanking the Chuck Lorre Family Foundation, Micarga, Texas Workforce Commission, Bechtel, iSolids, National Instruments, and American Legion Post 127.
They help us keep doing what we're doing. So
yeah, and we love them so much.
Well, Akshita and Olivia, what do you want to start off covering first with your team? Like, so we got a lot to cover on it, and I'm excited to hop right in.
Yeah, I think we're going to start off by covering our drivetrain. So we have this year we're doing Swerve drive, which is very different than every other year that we've done it. We've always had a tank. So this year we're kind of experimenting with it. First has kind of evolved to the point where we wanted to try out Swerve a little, just test our interest. So the photo all the way to the left is each individual Swerve module. We just assembled building those. And then the photo all the way to the right is our prototype of Swerve. That is not the actual one, where I'm going to clarify that. It looks pretty janky, but that's not the actual one. So that was just so we could test our code and make it move around. And then the one in the middle is obviously the CAD. It's very basic. And then that's like the base plate. And then like in the little slots is where the electronics are going.
So has T3 done Swerve before? I know obviously at 7312, a little bit newer team on there. So what's that experience been like so far for y'all?
It's very different.
Oh, we actually fried one of our encoders. That was really fun for us to handle. Damage control. We already have a new encoder coming on our way. Not everyone is great with soldering, but we learned from our mistakes.
That's fair.
Did you prototype the Swerve chassis in the off season, or are you just going straight for it for this?
Yeah, we prototyped it during off season a bit just to make sure that we knew what we were doing, and now we're prototyping like the actual. That way, it's in like in the frame perimeter and all that. So, yeah.
Very cool. Swerve's going to be incredibly popular this year, Tyler.
I'm sure some vendors will be very happy. Absolutely. So, looking at from other parts of your robot on there. So lead us into what's next past your Swerve and your drivetrain.
All right. So next we're going to talk about our robot arm and clamp. So we're using a cascading elevator for our arm it's on a pivot. The pitch is controlled by a winch, and it's similar to the Cranberry Alarm robot in 3 days. We kind of based it off that somewhat because we saw it was very successful. And then we actually have our prototype right here of our arms. I'm going to clarify, it is a prototype. It is very janky, and it's also missing a couple of pieces. We actually assembled it today. So basically, trying to grab the box.
Yeah.
It's going to kind of just pick it up and drop it off. On the inside, we're going to have like rubber grips. That way it sticks better to the cones and the cubes. And yeah, it's interesting.
So can you detail a little bit more on the joints and how that's working on there? I couldn't quite see that.
Okay. It's interesting. This guy's missing a lot of pieces, but there's gonna be a piston going through right here, and then you can kind of see it better in the CAD photo. But it's It's definitely being prototyped right now, so we're changing things a lot.
Also, our design lead would kill us if we did say this, but we actually did like completely CAD the entire arm, and then we saw a cranberry alarm, and we were like, "Oh my god, that's like almost exactly the same as ours." It was completely coincidence. And
Yeah. The photo in the middle, you can kind of see the combination of like everything in our robot, and then we're thinking of having a weight in the middle that can kind of slide back and forth. So whenever we're on the ramp, the charge station, that way we won't have to move our robot on the charge station. So
we also have like 2 sets of arms on the clamp, which is it's kind of unique compared to some of the other teams that we've been seeing so far. So we just also wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
So so on the claw, you said you've got the 2 arms, so it's like a 4-bar kind of gripper, right? So what's the motivation for that?
Honestly, we just kind of, it was a lot of just research. We looked at what other teams did and just kind of based it around like it. Yeah.
We also noticed like when like teams like grabbed something from 2 points and they like picked it up, it ended up picking up like setting up the cones, which seemed really helpful with like, you know, presets and everything. That way everything's really consistent. That was something that we wanted to keep in mind a lot with our grippers. So yeah.
I loved hearing that, you know, taking inspiration from, in this case, Cranberry Alarm. Cranberry Alarm, I know on Fun, when we did a whole judging, that was our number 1 R3D team. And I think, you know, what they brought to the table was really cool. So cool to hear that they're able to inspire you, but you're still able to make it your own and take it that route as well, too, which you know, we talked, Greg and you and I talked about this with another team previous to that. You know, it's all about where that inspiration comes from, but then how do you make it your own in the same light as well, too. So great to hear that you are doing that with your team as well, too.
We're also another thing that makes us a little more unique from other teams is we're using a ballast to like allow the fingers to stay square with each other, which is something we have also never done before. But like the design is looking pretty good so far.
Yeah,
so.
And we've got a lot of helpful mentors that are guiding us through that process, so we're not completely winging it.
Well, let's move on to your arm in the elevator as well too. If there's anything else on that you wanted to cover in particular? I know we got to make time for programming as well to work in for this too. So tell us more about what's going on.
So for the elevator, it's a cascading elevator on a pivot, and that like the pitch is controlled by a winch, and it is really similar to the cranberry alarm.
That's the one where we took most of our.
Okay, sure.
Afterwards, we were comparing. We're like, oh, that's very, very similar. But yeah, it's nice being able to see that it works in practice.
So where are you looking at from, you know, starting doing actual manufacturing and getting stuff actually created for the robot? Where are you kind of at in that build process to get to that point?
We're actually pretty lucky in a couple of our sponsors. We're sponsored by a 3D printing company, and I forgot to mention, but this part is not going to be. It's not going to be this 3D printed material because it's just kind of brittle. We're going to have it made of MJF, which is very strong, and it's nice because we used that on part of our. We used it on part of our robot last year, but iSolids is a wonderful company. They agreed to help 3D print any of our parts. So that's how we're getting a lot of like our custom parts, which is really nice.
Yeah, you know, having a 3D printing manufacturer, are you able to get stuff turned around really quickly too in that standpoint?
Yeah, it's very nice because we can just send them a design and they can be like, oh, we'll have it printed within like a week. And it's like, normally that would take like months for a lot of other manufacturers, but they're a really great company.
Where else on your robot are you looking at utilizing different types of 3D prints and the material for it?
Battery holder?
Yeah, we're probably going to 3D print our battery holder. Last year, we were having an interesting time with our battery holder, and our battery ended up getting launched out of the robot during one of our matches. So we're thinking of 3D printing the battery holder again, probably with MJF to make it a bit stronger. It's a lot.
Well, let's take a good chunk of time to talk about programming and what your team is utilizing for that as well. And, you know, programming is one of those things where, you know, we always want to give programming enough time. And on the show, sometimes it doesn't get enough. So I'm glad that you're carving out a good chunk of time to talk about it. So let us know what you're working on.
So this year, I'm actually really excited to be working with Pathfinder. That was something that we weren't able to be using last year which is kind of when it became like really famous. But because Swerve is compatible with Path Planner. I think I forgot the other drivetrain that is also compatible with it, but a tank is definitely not. So that was really annoying for us. And so that was another contributing factor as to why we wanted to do a Swerve drive this year, because we knew, especially with the auto game this year, it's kind of crazy because there's so many different configurations that you can be doing. That's also why we're making a modular auto. And that way we can actually, the plan is so that we have like different, almost like, because like a command, like, and so within the code it looks like a bunch of different commands, almost like a choose your own adventure at this point.
Sure.
And the point is like you make a bunch of different checkpoints like throughout the plan that you can change, and so that way in competition it can be a quick change that we can communicate with other teams. And the main reason that we're doing it that way is that the last thing we want to do is kill someone else's robot or have them kill our robot through like some sort of collision. And so, safety is just, the biggest factor as to why we want to do that. And then another reason is also just like, we want to get as many points as possible and help other teams on our alliances as much as possible. We have command-based code. Our repository is on T3, the account T3 Programming. And so this year's repository is called Swerve Drive 2023, and that is public for everybody to see. We're very excited to be working with it. So far, the only thing pushed right now is Swerve Drive code that we forked from Fusion's base Falcon code, which is actually amazing and a godsend. And I really appreciate 364 a lot for that.
Yeah.
Their code is really nice to work with, and it's very simple for teams that are first starting out with Swerve, because coding Swerve is not a walk in the park for any team. And so it's really nice to have something very fundamental that helps us like kind of step by step go through everything. And their documentation is also amazing. I highly recommend it for any team starting off with Falcons in their Swerve drive. It's really good. Another thing is also this year we're going to plan on using photo vision. So because we noticed that the April tags on the field can actually be like really used this year for us, because since they're all unique to like there's certain positions in the field, that can really help us out with presets and autonomous, and making sure we can also use it for field orientation and making sure we know where we are in the field. So we're really excited to be using that. It is the first time we are using it this year, so kind of jumping in head first, but the plan is for everything to work. So last but not least, I wanted to mention our how we're gonna get on focusing the charge station part of the competition. So the plan is to make kind of like a parking brake for our robot. So it's like, well, the way it kind of works is I code like a preset where it forces all the wheels to kind of point in like an X direction. So like all of them are facing towards the center of the robot. That way the robot can't really move with any sliding of the charging station. So the plan is to kind of get on the charging station, find a good spot where it's ideal, and then stay put. So yeah, that's about everything I wanted to cover. But do you guys have any questions?
Greg, one thing I just want to ask you in general with teams, we heard so many teams talking about utilizing April tags. This has got to be like, Greg, you and I are old boomers in first, right? So like, I think about all the new times something new for autonomous has come out. I mean, and how little it was implemented by many teams. It's so cool to hear that so many teams are looking at utilizing April tags as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is that as the seasons go on and the years go on for us, Tyler, the games really become a way where it used to be that you didn't get that great of an advantage by doing the computer vision stuff. But now, if you're not doing a great job at autonomous and path planning and all of that, you're gonna struggle to find really great success without some of that stuff. And I think that the software tools and the sharing has also gotten really good, where there's a lot of stuff out there that teams can, just like we've talked about Everybot a lot on the show this year, but the code is kind of like the Everybot as well, where it's like taking something that you found and adapting it to be your own. And I think that that's done a lot, but I'm excited to see where the April tag stuff goes. It's far easier to work with.
Actually, I want to ask you on that, looking at from previous, vision implementations your team has looked at to doing April tags now, how has that process been so far? Would you say everything's a new challenge, right? But has it been something that's been pretty digestible for you?
We have found pretty good documentation for the most part. We also got our camera in pretty early, so I plan on, experimenting with that as early in the season as I possibly can. The only experience I personally have, and our team really does have overall, is Limelight. So, and last year we did have a very big struggle with Limelight, but we did end up getting it to work at the end. Kind of, we had like a center onto the, what was it called, the hoop, by the end of the season.
Yeah.
So that was like a big goal for us. And from also what we've heard about photo vision and what we've seen is it is a lot more accurate than Limelight. And so like that's something that we're really excited to see with our robot.
Well, T3, really appreciate you coming out. I got to ask, what does T3 stand for, by the way? I'd never asked that.
Thinking, teamwork, and technology.
There we go. Perfect. So
Perfect.
thank you so much for coming out. It's been great to hear what your team has been working on. Make sure you check out T3's build blogs, both on the Open Alliance Discord, of course, on Chief Delphi as well, too. And we can't wait to see what your team produces. Thank you so much, and have a great evening. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you
T3.
This video on First Updates Now is made possible by viewers like you and also the following sponsors. At Kettering University, over 30% of the student population was in high school robotics. These same students have received a portion of over $7 million in scholarships. Scholarship applications for FIRST students are now available. Get more information at kettering.edu/first. FRC Premiere Night is back on Saturday, February 25th. Submit a unique video showcasing your team's charged up robot progress by Thursday, February 23rd at First Updates Now/Premiere23. Premiere Night is a great way to engage with the community. Get more information and submit your video at firstupdatesnow.com/Premiere23. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/firstupdatesnow. Join our Discord at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.